Hello there, glad to welcome you on the last closing talk today. Hope you have some energy and interest left, and I will tell you some good things about the form tag. So my name is Vladyslav. I'm a software developer working with e-commerce, and I have a short story to start with. By the way, these slides are interactive, and if you wish, you can join me. You can touch them, feel, and do the same thing I will do. So generally, story starts a few years ago. It was a regular pull request, but I noticed that my team lead, he changed one thing. He replaced a div tag with the form. It looks like not too much, but I started a conversation, and it turns out it has some negative accessibility drawbacks. But let's take a look why he did that in the first place. So we have an input. Imagine that this is a subscription input in the footer of your page. And we have to enter our email to subscribe. Let's enter invalid value and try to subscribe our form. As you can see, there is a message. The browser tells us that something is wrong. We were using Vue Storefront. It has its own built-in validation, it has components and so on and so on. But because we were using form and input, this resulted browser to warn us that something is wrong. And that is why he replaced the div in the first place, to disable this validation. But the only point that was convincing enough, was that this input will react to enter inside the form. This is the only point. Because if they're in div, that means that a button is not related to the input. And input does nothing by itself. It's not submitting. And let's be honest, it's a bit convincing if you fastly type your email and then just bam, enter and submit, and your form is submitted. So that's how we reverted the form. But if you want, there is a demonstration, like I'm pressing enter with a div and nothing happens. But if I press enter within the form, it submits. I can submit div only by clicking the div, meaning I have to use JavaScript for that. So how to solve it? The first and the simplest solution is to disable it. You can do it with the noValidate tag on the form. And this will disable all validation rules for the whole form on submission. And generally, you can submit anything to that. If you can see these files. But if I add noValidate attribute, just go. It works. So let's add some points that were not very convincing there. Submit event, like I've already mentioned, you can submit the form not only by click to the button. You can submit it from anywhere of the form. You have easy access to form data flow. You can grab all the form data by one command, and it's easy. Also, your form goes into global document object by form, by its name, and you can access it within any script you want. And, of course, built-in validation if you need. But let's be honest. As we are using libraries, frameworks today, generally the list looks like that. Because you do not need to interact with the form the way it wants you to. All the data is stored in the component. You do not need access to the form because the form is there in your template. And validation are often handled by some third-party libraries. And the only thing that left is submit. That's the one that worked. But can we just remove the validation? Yeah, but this the obvious option then, because why should I add a tag? Why should I add a rule to validate in the first place? Let's take a closer look at validation attributes and what causes that message. The message was caused by the type. Because we entered the type to be email, the browser itself validated if this is a valid email, surely. There were no required min-max, min-len, button, not so, just email. But you cannot just remove it, because this is essential for user experience. It will remove the add small add button on the mobile devices, which is pretty useful. So it visually for desktop looks the same if it has email type or not has email type, but it will affect big amounts of users. So keep that in mind. We have to use form and we have to use types. But can we get some use of that? Of course we do. Let's pick one to have it as a demo. I made a small demo for zip code with a very interesting rule pattern. I have never seen it in the wild, honestly, but that's pretty charming. So generally, it just validates if this is a valid zip code, and if I submit, it submits, but it will not if it's not a valid zip code. For example, Polish one. By the way, you can customize the message it shows by the link below. We can utilize it in the way that this input becomes, he receives the state of invalid, and you can use the state, for example, to show an error message after that. Just like that. So until you enter a valid zip code, it shows it's red and invalid, and once you enter the valid zip code, it becomes okay. And the main benefit of this is this works not only on submission, but it works on real time, meaning it reacts to every user input. And then just submit if you want. Okay, but we had a small problem. We had the problem that even before the user starts doing something, it fails because it doesn't match the pattern and it looks not okay. So user didn't even start to interact with the form and it's already have errors. There is a small trick when you can show a placeholder and check if the placeholder is shown, because once user starts entering something, placeholder is gone and validation can be started. There are new pseudo elements, pseudo classes, user valid, user invalid, but they are not ready for production because they're not supported in all of the devices. So finally we have something like that, and we can use it like this, and submit with no problem. So just do not add invalid styling, add no validate attribute, and you have form to use safely with your JavaScript. You can add any validation you want, any library you want, just use it, but keep this stuff in mind. I'm not sure if I have enough time for that, but I will shortly talk about the label with no with input without label, because this is a very common design requirement. For example, in a footer form, you always do not show like email and enter email. You have like placeholder maybe to show the user that you can enter email and just submit a button. So in the first place, we can add labels with two options: by ID. But if you have several forms and you do not want to duplicate the IDs, you can just wrap your input inside the label and it will work exactly the same. Just add some styling to make it look better. But if you need an invisible label, do not leave the input without it. And do not display none the label, because it will fully removed from the DOM, from accessibility DOM, and it will have no use at all. For example, title. Yeah, it has one drawback. This title will be visible on the hover, but it will do its job. But if you need a fully invisible label, just use an area attribute. It will do the same job as a title, but with no visual drawbacks. It will not appear on hover. And you can do same for button if this needs to be just an icon. What's this all about? User experience is in your hand. You're the developers, you are the one responsible for the end project, not the designer, not the QA. You decide what text to use, what attributes to use, how to arrange them. And I even have a point how to sell it to client. But let's start that this is an official and recommended way. You can find it on any documentation. It suggests you to use text, use attributes, and so on and so on. This will help not only people with disabilities, but also elder people, like your parents, maybe you in the future. Yeah, but it can only affect, it also can affect SEO and AI tools. You do not know what they do with your site, you do not know what they can do with your site, but you can help them understand it better. And of course, there are several accessibility laws and regulations within Europe, for example, that you have to follow. So, to summary, you can keep up with these steps when you build your form next time. For example, for start, use form when possible. As I mentioned earlier, submit is a very essential event and you can use it. Follow accessibility and semantic rules. It's pretty easy, just follow them. Check libraries in your project. If you use some third-party libraries, you can assess the results. You can validate if it's okay and if this contains any problem. Like recently I have a problem with PremU library because they removed the option to use input outside the form and that was not okay. Don't be afraid to work with defaults. It relates to browser defaults and to library defaults because you can override them. Do not be afraid to do so. You can, you're a developer. Of course, validate everything the user tries to enter you, so this means that validation rules are essential and do not miss them, even if you are not willing to use the front-end validation, I mean attributes validation. And check your form with keyboard. This is very easy, but you can like tap through all of the inputs and just check if everything accessible, if you can come back, if you do not have some hidden elements, if you can enter, if you can space, and if you can submit a form with enter. Like, that's the whole point of the slides. So yeah, thank you for your attention, and I'm glad to hear your questions.
So you mentioned how to sell it to the client. Did you ever have to sell it to a client? Has the client ever actually looked into the code deep enough to see that this is using ARIA and complained about it?
Honestly, no. I always just do it. But I heard some concerns that it's time consuming, you have to learn, you have to know, you have to dig how to use it. And sometimes you have to fight with libraries, and it may be time consuming. So in these cases it might be it might have sense to sell it to the client to explain why it took why it took more time.
Thank you.
Thank you.